Welcome back, and continuing our focus on that, we're joined now by Dr. Adetokunbo Pearse. Now, he was a former Director, Intergovernmental Affairs and Community Relations, Office of the Clerk of Cook County, Illinois, in U.S. He was also a Democratic Party aspirant for the U.S. House of Reps for the 11th Congressional District in Brooklyn, New York. Thank you for joining us this morning. So, some experience you've got there about how some elections play out over there, but let me bring in this perspective, because when we read and then we get reports that there are protests in the U.S. after this surprise election, it turns out that there were surprises in both camps. What could the protesters be talking about here? About the process or what?
Well, you remember that President-elect Trump himself said that the process is rigged, that the system is corrupt.
That's before he won.
Well, but that's the mentality. Some people have that belief that something did not go right.
But a lot of people thought that no, that they clearly just said his views have no place in their political history.
Well, they were wrong because, you know, the American elections have this slogan every election cycle. It's the economy, stupid. It's all about the economy. And whoever forgets that will regret it. And that's what I think happened to Mr. Clinton.
But now that the protesters are hitting the streets, what could they want? What they want to do? Go to court or say no, he was wrongly elected? The elections have been over and
well, they're just venting their anger, their surprise, their shock. Sometimes it's trauma. It's a traumatic experience. But some people will go to court. Just as Trump himself said, that he would not accept the election results unless he felt it was fair. So these people feel that it must not have been fair. That's the beauty of democracy, freedom of expression in America. People protest on both sides. So this is just normal.
While the elections also started, because his team had also gone to court to challenge the early voting in Nevada, but that was rejected. So, but at the end of the day, he proved the polls, so many people wrong in that place. What do you think went on? Could it be that there was something they had up their sleeves, or it turned out a surprise for everybody?
This is the surprise that is fueling the protests, I think. People are shocked, those who did not expect it to happen. I did not expect it, but I was not overtly surprised because I noticed something about 2 weeks before the election, that Donald Trump all of a sudden started reading the prompter. He didn't talk carelessly. He didn't talk emotionally. He was focused. And then I thought, I've seen this before. I've been through elections in the U.S. where a week or two before the election date, candidates just have a new look, you know, new haircut, begin to dress differently, talk differently, and that could change everything. And that was part of it. But Trump won this election mainly because he focused on what Americans always hold as their priority, and that is their economy more than anything else. And I think that's what did it for him. Everywhere he went, everything he did, everything he said, every position he took, even about illegal immigrants, even about building the wall to keep out Mexicans from coming into the country, all of it had to do with the economy. And that's why he got the support I think he got.
Okay, let me bring in Mark on this. Mark,
well, it's a good thing you say that you were not overtly surprised by the outcome of the polls, and it would seem that you were sort of expecting it at the end of the last 2 weeks. But if you look at predictions now, they have been quite it depends on, you know, where you swing. If you're superstitious and you believe the Chinese monkey, that's on the one hand. But then there was a Professor Alan Lichtman, or there is Professor Alan Lichtman, who for some time had predicted that President-elect now, Trump, was going to clinch the vote. And he said this, I think, as far back as September. He, according to him, was under pressure to review his stance on his predictions. But over the last couple of weeks, or the events of the last couple of weeks, only went ahead to confirm it. For him, he felt that because the presidential primaries, especially that of the Democrats, was long drawn, it already exposed the camp of the Democrats. Do you agree with him?
That particular issue of the Democratic primaries is also very relevant. One, for instance, I was Bernie Sanders person. If I had been in the U.S., I would have worked with Bernie Sanders.
Why?
Because he was speaking to the issue of the economy and to education and to the youth, and he was an outsider. He was not a typical politician who would just go according to what's already established in the country.
Like the primaries were closed? Like
Mrs. Clinton. Not only were the primaries closed, people believe that Bernie Sanders was actually rigged out of the primaries. So, yes, I do agree that that has something to do with the problem Mrs. Clinton had after the primaries, because she was helped by the Democratic Convention. The system actually, and people resigned. People went to court and people were taken out because they were accused, rightly, that they had actually fiddled with the system in favor of Mrs. Clinton. No, not the email.
But if the email hadn't popped up where some of these allegations were exposed, would we have known that?
Well, that's an additional issue. We're talking about the Democratic primaries themselves.
Yeah, it's the same time.
Where we found out that the system of officers of the Democratic Party actually assisted Mrs. Clinton, and they worked against Bill Sanders. The people, the supporters of Bill Sanders, never came throughly for Mrs. Clinton. They never, the millennia, the young people, young educated, they never came through for Mr. Clinton after that. So that issue of meddling with the system in favor of Mr. Clinton in the Democratic primaries was now compounded by the email leaks to show that Mr. Clinton, one, cannot be trusted, two, is a systems person that knows how to manipulate the system in her favor, just to win elections. And that translates, we could see that at the end of the general election, when she could not really get the Bernie Sanders coalition together to support her.
But was that allegation correct? Because if she could, she would have done it for herself.
Did what? What allegation?
The part that you said that she's part of the system, she could help herself to victory. They were just allegations, weren't they?
No, that's not an allegation. That's an observation. That is the way people saw her. And in fact, that is true. She is solidly systems.
So if
in other words, she's been in the system for so long and has so much influence. This election was an election against the system. Anybody, don't forget that Donald Trump is not a member of even the Republican formal system. He's an outsider in the Republican Party. That's why he was able to win the Republican primaries, because the whole election, from the primaries in the Republican Party, the primaries in the Democratic Party, and the general election was about anti-establishment.
Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll be back and get more from you in a moment. Don't go away.